Today I'm sharing my personal secrets or methods for getting things done in the time I have, and my commitment to you is by the end of this video, you will have the tools to do the things you need to do without the stress. And if you're feeling a little unsettled after hearing that and thinking, April, you have no idea how much is on my plate, I want you to know that for years, I would totally overestimate what I could do. I would write super long lists, maybe just get a couple things done, go to bed feeling really discouraged. Then I would rewrite everything the next day, try to do it again, and this cycle went on for years. But now I have zero piles. My lists get done every day. I am more productive than I've ever been. I take a nap every day and I can live a life without anxiety, and I want to show you how to do the same. Let's dive in. I want you to imagine that you have these 3 tasks that you want to do today. So first is a phone call over an insurance issue. Second is you want to spend some time cleaning the bedroom with your child. And then third is you're outlining a report, putting together bullet points for work. Now, if you're going to guess how much time these things will take, we might say 15 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes, and that feels pretty doable. But what if things end up taking way longer and then you feel overextended and overcommitted and kind of stressed? Have you ever found yourself in a situation like that? First, we're going to review 5 key principles and then we'll apply them to the 3 scenarios I introduced, and I hope you love all my drawings. I'll explain them as I go. Number 1 is to create buffer. So that's a bowling alley, and I'm trying to talk about those things that you put in the gutters so that the ball will just bounce off, when you go to a kid's party or something like that. But I wanted some way to illustrate buffer in our lives, which means we're not scheduling ourselves minute by minute by minute. We're creating lots of space. So in a past video, I explained how I typically only schedule about 1/3 of my open hours, so I have plenty of buffer. So that 1/3 rule really works well. Another part of having buffer is having other tasks ready to go when you do have extra time. So that's where we talk about a next actions list, where it's like, home, phone, errands, computer to discuss, that weekly list with little 10-minute next actions that are just ready to go. And we have more videos on the channel that will explain more about that. A third element of buffer is that if you plan, let's say, to get somewhere where you need to be 10 to 15 minutes early, now you're creating time where you can get some other tasks or things accomplished. So as we're scheduling out our days, if we think, I've got a dentist appointment at 2, you don't think, I'm going to leave my house at 1:53 and hope I can get there in time. We think, hey, I'll leave early, and maybe at 1:30, get there with plenty of time, and I can work on these things or read my book or have more of that time. So building it into our day. Second principle is that we need to become time and focus leaders. So I have the little clock and a little magnifying glass to talk about that focus and the time. Whether it's a meeting or a group conversation or something that has an official outcome, we want to be able to really know what the vision is for the end of that meeting and help people stay on task. Say, what do we want to be true by the time we're done with this meeting? Maybe having just a simple list of key points, and then if people try to go off on rabbit trails, then bring them back. Things that you do need to discuss, those can go on a next in line list. But helping just keep everyone going, doing occasional time checks, and just making sure that someone is leading the conversation and someone's leading the meeting is going to be incredibly helpful. A third principle is to plan for the open loops. Okay, so this is our little loop that's not quite closed. Sometimes when you are going to start something and you can't finish it in the time allotted, you don't want to stop because you're afraid you're going to forget about all those other things that you need to do. So that's what we teach here, is how you can have a system to identify what those open loops are and then put them into your system so you can follow up later. So here are a few questions that you would want to ask yourself as you can find the open loops. First, is it a project or a task? So is it multiple steps or just a one-off thing? Second question is, who owns it? Third, when will it get done? Fourth, how will we follow up? So just having a few questions and a simple system ready for those open loops helps us not feel ashamed or frustrated if we can't get everything done. It's okay. You just kind of pause, figure out where to go from there. A fourth principle is to work in microbursts, this little faucet with water just bursting out of it. But I want you to think about 10 to 20 minute chunks of time where we just jump in and do our work. Whether that is something like cleaning a room or working on a big work project or something that feels a little overwhelming, when we work in microbursts, it helps us to be able to calm our brains. You may have even heard of that Pomodoro timer where it's like 25 minutes, sets of time so that you can just jump in, the timer goes off, and then you can take a little break. I've been going through some awesome courses on the Great Courses app, and there's one course called Outsmart Yourself, and it's brain-based strategies for a better you. And one thing I learned in this course is that, let's say we're exercising or we're doing something that feels really hard. Our brains will tell us that we're tapped out and we're tired long before we actually are, as a way to help us to, prevent totally overexerting ourselves and to conserve energy. So they're saying if you're out on a jog and you're thinking, oh, I can't go one step further, you actually really can. It's just a trick your brain is playing on you. And I think that's very similar as we're doing our work. The reason these 10-minute microbursts work so well is because we're telling our brain, it's okay, you're safe. It's okay, you're safe. You're not going to be completely exhausted. So these microbursts work beautifully, and I encourage you to use them every day. So come back to the 3 scenarios we spoke about, and let's talk about that insurance phone call. There are at least 3 of the principles we just discussed that can apply to this. So first is, I don't make a phone call like this if I don't have buffer. So you don't want to say, oh, I've got to start something in 10 minutes. Let me just call the insurance real quick. So giving yourself time so you don't have to call back and wait through the whole line and all that kind of stuff. Okay, next, be a time and focus leader. Even on a telephone call, you being the one to make sure that the person helping you is on track, aware of how long you've been on the phone, that you're maybe moving things forward, helping them get to an outcome. It's really helpful. There are so many times I've spoken with either, it's an AI bot or something, or a representative who's kind of trying, but maybe they're new and maybe they just need a little help with focus. So that's something I apply to phone calls. And the third is knowing how to close the open loops. For example, I had an insurance phone call the other day and the person said, I don't know, I might check back in a couple weeks, want to see how it goes. So I wrote down the person's name, when we spoke, what we talked about, and I set a calendar reminder to get back to that person where I have that information right there. So then I'm not digging through piles trying to find that one random piece of information. It's just really simple. But that's going to help something like this stay within the time that's allotted. Now let's jump to cleaning a room with a child. So first I put microbursts because I think that is an excellent skill to teach to our children, saying, hey, let's do these toys for 10 minutes. Then we can go get a little drink of water or take a little break or something like that. But just working in 10 minutes helps teach our children that they can keep their rooms clean. My college-age son was even saying, I taught my roommates how to do microbursts so we could do the dishes and keep the kitchen clean. So I thought that was awesome. All right, next is buffer. I actually have found that cleaning with my children, especially being in their own rooms, is one of the most therapeutic, connective things that we do together, because you end up talking about way more than just the room. You find out about which objects are important to them, how they're thinking about things, what their dreams are. So I try to provide as much buffer as possible for myself. So maybe it's like a Saturday afternoon or, a little Sunday evening thing where we're just kind of working together on something. And that way you're going to feel like the time you're spending cleaning isn't just yelling at everyone, telling them what to clean. It's actually learning that we create our environments and we make them beautiful. And the last one is the open loops. So my teenage son and I were cleaning his room together the other day, and at the end we had one pile of things that needed to go other places in the house, and we had another pile of things that he needed to sort through, and then we had some books that we needed to give back to Eric, and he was going to put where he wanted to go. So we had all these piles of things. Those are the open loops at the end of the cleaning. So we decided, okay, tomorrow we'll go through all this stuff and take it down to the charity box, or put this on Dad's desk or whatever. So that way you learn, if you can't get everything done in the time allotted, you at least have little tasks that you can do, and it's kind of planned in advance. Now, the third scenario that was outlining, a presentation for work. First, I put time and focus leader because I think it's most important for us to do this when we're working alone. It is so easy to get distracted when we don't have accountability. But actually saying, when I sit down to work, I say, okay, by the time I'm done working, I want to have these things done. I'm not going to go get distracted, and I'm going to just really stay focused and be aware. That's a huge one. Second is just turning off notifications. We say this all the time, but especially when I'm doing very focused think work, turn that phone off. And then last one is work in microbursts. It's easy to get exhausted when you're trying to put together something that's going to make a big impact, or it's going to affect a lot of other people. And especially even while I'm putting together things like these YouTube videos, I sit down and I work in microbursts, take a little break, jump back in. That way I can do my best work in little pieces and just not get burnt out. My mother used to always say, begin, the rest is easy. And I would just add, begin, apply the 5 principles that we spoke about today. The rest is easy. I want you to feel excited about the things that you're doing and know that even though you might not be able to guess exactly how long something will take, that you have tools to make it feel relatively simple and move forward on the things that really do matter most to you. We encourage you to check out the other videos here on the channel. I wake up every morning thinking, how do I help my friends get out of overwhelm? How can I help other people to feel the same sense of peace and purpose, waking up excited and going to bed content? You were made to do great things, and I'm so glad to be able to help you. So thanks for being here with us. We'll see you soon at Learn, Do, Become.